Gajananam bhuta ganati sevitam kapitta jambhupala sara bhakshitam umasutam shoka vinasha karanam namami vigneshwara pada pankajam. Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste and a hearty welcome to one and all for today's 20th session of our series aimed to lead us into an inward journey for discovery of inner strength and happiness. In short, DISHA through Bhagavad Gita. Friends, at the outset, I thank all those who have very generously contributed to the collective Guru Dakshina on Guru Purnima to be offered to all our Gurus. I only request you to update the details of your contribution on the Google Forms, link of which was shared earlier. Coming to today's program, Dr. Timmappa Hegde sir shall give us an introduction to the day's topic and the important conclusions of today's presentation. Dr. Vasumati shall explain and help us understand the two lifestyles, namely Sankhya and Yoga, from verses 1 to 6 of Bhagavad Gita chapter 5. And from Tattva Bodha, she will explain the topic, role of āśrama dharma, the design of the 4 āśramas for the pursuit of 3 yogas, namely karma, upasana, and jnana yogas. After Dr. Vasumati's presentation, as I mentioned, Dr. Hegde sir shall highlight the important aspects. Today's teaching quiz will be presented by Dr. Divakar, who has put this together along with Dr. Komal Prasad. Srimati Sukanya Narayan shall commence today's session by chanting and explaining Shloka, Dhruva's prayer from Bhagavad Purana, Yo Anta Pravishya Mama Vacha. From Srimati Sukanya, Madam, please.
I'm going to chant the Dhruva Stuti. This is the first of the 12 slokas of the Bhagavata Purana, 4th Skanda, 9th chapter. This prayer was by a little boy Dhruva to Lord Vishnu. A short background. Dhruva was the son of Swayambhuva Manu, King Uttanapada, who had 2 wives, Suruchi and Suniti. Dhruva was born to Suniti. He had a half-brother Uttama, born to the queen Suruchi, who was the king's favorite. One day, Dhruva saw his half-brother sitting on the lap of his father. He also wanted to sit on the king's lap, but his stepmother Suruchi did not let him, saying, "You are not lucky enough to be able to sit on your father's lap, since you are not born to me. Go and do penance in a forest." The little boy Dhruva took it seriously and headed to a forest to do penance after pleading with his mother for consent. On the way, he met Narada, who persuaded him to go back since he was too small. He blessed him with the Dwadasha mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Dhruva was firm in his resolve, continued his penance. Pleased with Dhruva's devotion, Lord Narayana appeared before him and blessed the little boy by touching his cheeks with his divine conch, which represents Vedic wisdom. The little boy Dhruva chanted this sloka in the presence of the Lord. Sloka goes like this. Yo anta pravishya mama vachamimam prasuptam sanjeeva yatyakila shaktidhara swadhamna anyancha hasta charana shravana tvagadin pranan namo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam. He who holds the power of the universe, who after entering me rejuvenates my dormant speech, limbs, sense organs and breath, by his own luster splendor, to him, to that Purusha, to that consciousness, I offer my salutations. You anta pravishya, one who entering inside, mama vacha mimam, prasuptam, my dormant sense organs of speech, sanjeevayati, enlivens, akhila shakti dhara, the source of all strength. Lord not only enlivens sense organs, but also motivates the respective abhimani devatas, swadhamna, by your self-effulgence, anyan, other faculties, hasta charana shravana tvagadin, hands, limbs, hearing organs, skin, karmendriyas, and the mind, pranancha, and the life force, the breath, tubhyam bhagavate purushaya, to you the Lord, the indweller in all beings, I bow. Anta pravishya, He who entered me and live in my speech and actions. How? By his own glory. It's not any entry in physical terms. In Vedantic terms, it means having created the universe, he entered it and became the truth, transcendence and immanence. Sanjivayati jiva bhutam. Lord motivated Prakriti to act. Purushaya tubhyam. Purvameva aham asan. I was there before everything, available as witness conscious. O Lord, I bow to you, the indweller in all living beings, controller and sustainer of chara, achara, of the whole universe. You stimulate the dormant sense organs of speech with your effulgence. You are the source of strength to all the sense organs and tattva abhimani devatas. You also stimulate all other faculties as per your will. O Lord, I bow to you. Lord Narayana himself chanted these words through Dhruva. Man is essentially divine. We need to respect divinity in everyone. Hari Om, sir.
Thank you very much, Sukanya, for introducing this Dhruva Sthiti and explaining it so very nicely to us. Sada Shiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. We have now come to the 20th session of DISHA, where we are revising the Bhagavad Gita chapter-wise with the objective of looking at the Gita as how I can discover inner strength and happiness. The 5th chapter is titled as Karma Sannyasa Yoga. So the key word I want you to reflect on throughout this chapter is Sannyasa. Sannyasa means renunciation. Right from the 1st chapter itself, Arjuna wants to give up the war and take sannyas. So this question comes again and again in all chapters up to the 18th chapter. And Shri Krishna has his own understanding of sannyasa. Our teachers help us to understand what is this karma sannyasa. Now each chapter has got a name. The name of this chapter is Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Now let us look into different levels of karma sannyasa. One is the lowest level of karma sannyasa is a lazy person. He is a kevala karma sannyasa. That means we have examples of so many people who are happy doing just nothing. But the Bhagavad Gita says, if you don't do anything, you're not going to accomplish anything in this world. There is no question of getting any of the Parama Purushartha. The next level of sannyasa is called Vividisha Sannyasa. Vividisha Sannyasa is a person who leaves society and makes a firm commitment. Now a person has got a clear goal. Now I commit to moksha and therefore I will not have any forms of impediments. I will leave society and all responsibilities to pursue my studies. Even higher than that is karma yoga, where all my actions are now done as a form of a dedication to the Lord. And now I'm not looking at, I'm able to accept whatever I get as prasada. This is the higher level of sannyasa, which comes as a karma yogi. Even higher, you will hear Dr. Vasumati explain one of these verses. Neya sa nitya sannyasa. Krishna discusses a new type of sannyasa. Yo na dveshti na kangshati. Who is beyond the pair of opposites. So Shri Krishna says such a person who is not craving for the outcome of karma is an even higher form of sannyasa. The highest form of a sannyasi is called a vidvat sannyasa. Sannyasi is a jnāni. He now has spiritual knowledge. Once you have spiritual knowledge, you know now you are someone other than the body. Now the body and all that comes along with the body, that means family, possessions, profession, relations, all that become absolutely insignificant, like a roasted seed, useful for transactions, but now there is no ego, and that is the highest form of sannyas. The first 6 verses will be discussed along with the Tattva Bodha topic of āśrama by Dr. Vasumati. Dr. Vasumati, please.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Today, I cover the topics of āśrama dharma as described in Tattva Bodha, leading up to the pursuit of 2 sādhanās, namely karma yoga and jnana yoga, and the 2 lifestyles as explained by Lord Krishna in the first 6 verses of chapter 5 of Bhagavad Gita, Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Next slide, sir. Āśrama dharma. Āśrama is generally translated as a stage of life. Next slide, sir. The entire life of a Vedic follower is divided into 4 stages, otherwise called 4 āśramas, as mentioned in our Shastra. These 4 stages are Brahmacharya āśrama, student's life, grihastha āśrama, householder's life, then Vaana Prastasram, hermit's life, and finally Sannyasa āśrama, a monk's life of renunciation. Shramaha means spiritual sadhana, and āśrama here refers to a stage of life in which a person practices spiritual sadhana in a committed way. The entire life is a series of spiritual sadhanas in each stage. The type of spiritual sadhana differs. The primary and ultimate goal of a human being is spiritual goal. Even though we temporarily accept dharma, artha, and kama as human goals, but hearts of hearts, scriptures do not accept them as real goals at all. They are apparent goals. They appear as goals as long as a person is immature. Therefore, the scriptures design an entire lifestyle full of spiritual sadhanas for realization, or to say, accomplishment of the spiritual goal, which is nothing but a struggle for internal freedom, otherwise called moksha. Now, let us look at each of these ashramas for a better understanding. The first ashrama is Brahmacharya ashrama, student's life, committed to education. Now the question is, what is the purpose and content of education? Nowadays, we talk about education. We only mean learning certain professional skills meant for earning, learning for earning. Karma alone is kept in mind when we talk about education. This is not the approach of our scriptures. Our scriptures accept that there should be learning of professional skills because we must earn our livelihood. But this is only a secondary aspect of education. The primary purpose of education is refinement of character and building of a person so that he will harmoniously fit into the society, contributing to both the social and individual growth. Education must include scriptural study, and that is why the very student stage itself is called Brahmacharya ashrama. Brahma here means the scriptures or the Veda, and Charya means the one who dwells upon, and that is Brahmacharya ashrama. 3 things are very important in the process of education. The first thing is, I should very clearly know what is the ultimate goal that I am working for. Previous slide, sir. Imagine a football match. All the 11 players know how to dribble the ball and keep the ball with their team without giving the ball to the opponent team. They spend 1.5 hours by passing the ball among themselves and don't strike any goal. What is the use? Dribbling the ball is not an end in itself. In and through all the struggle, while the footballer is handling the ball, he must be aware, I have to strike. Remember, the whole life is like a football match. We are handling so many things, money, family members, office, etc. But the question is, what for all these? I should be clear that the goal is moksha. The student must know that the spiritual goal is the ultimate goal. Next slide, sir. The second important thing is there must be some form of religious worship, which is generally known as ritual. Rituals of worship is one of the best methods to develop discipline and dynamism in life. Laziness is the most natural thing to the physical body. Unless we have got a physical routine in life, laziness will not go. Therefore, discipline, dynamism, and ultimately devotion to Lord can be developed only by physicalized expression. Next slide, sir. Finally, education must teach me the important values of life, which are the constants, which can never be changed. We have to adjust our life according to values. Values cannot be adjusted to suit our life. Swamiji narrates a story here. Once a ship was traveling on the sea, and the captain of the ship sighted another light far away. And he found that the light was in the same direction of his forward movement. And he thought there's another ship, and therefore they are in the course of collision. Naturally, nobody wants a collision to happen, and the course of the ship must be changed. Either this ship should change its course or the other ship should change its course. And the captain of this ship was a very powerful man, and it was a big destroyer ship. And therefore, his ego didn't permit him to change the course. So he sent a message, please change the course. After some time, he got a message, please change your course. Clash of ego. This captain got wild and said, I'm commanding you, change your course. From the other end came the reply, I'm commanding you, change the course. And he again gave the third message, I'm the captain of the destroyer ship commanding you, change the course. And from the other end, he got the message, I'm the controller of the lighthouse, change your course. What happened to the ego? What is permanent and stationary cannot change. One has to learn to adjust and change. Therefore, remember, Dharma is the lighthouse. It is Shashvata Dharma, Sanadana Dharma. They are eternal values which I should understand and assimilate them. I should be aware that I cannot compromise them without damaging my physical, emotional, and intellectual health. Next slide, sir. The second ashrama is grihastha ashrama. Grihastha ashrama or family life is extremely important, relevant, and alive even now. According to the scriptures, family life is a religious institution formed by a religious ceremony and meant for religious purpose only. Materialistic purposes or incidental byproducts. If we think material goals like security or pleasure or comfort are the primary purposes, then such a family life will become either unstable or it will soon become irrelevant. The family bond is to be looked at as a sacred bond caused by God himself, and God alone has the right to undo the bond. Only with such an attitude, the family will be stable. Titiksha, tolerance, sacrifice, accommodation, forgiveness, trust, etc. are important virtues which can be developed only in a stable family. Finally, stable family is required for raising emotionally healthy children, and therefore grihastha ashrama is extremely important for myself as well as for the next generation. Next slide, sir. Then the next ashrama is Vaana Prastasram. Vaana Prastasram is a training period for gradual withdrawal. If you study one's physical body, it peaks into activity, and as one grows older, the physical body withdraws. And if there should be no strain, then the mind should also learn to gradually withdraw. Otherwise, you will find the strain in the personality. The mind is highly active and the physical body is not able to implement, and all the faculties are either slow or doubtful. The mind also should learn nivritti, learn to enjoy seclusion, antarmukhatvam, learn to go inward, that's introversion. In fact, this is a training period for self-knowledge, turning towards the self. So Vanaprastha stage is a stage of withdrawal, introversion, and seclusion. It could be a relative seclusion in the family itself. One can be withdrawn without interfering in the affairs of the children. Next slide, sir. The fourth stage is Sannyasa āśrama. Sannyasa means giving up everything, renunciation of everything, and primarily renunciation of one's ignorance and ego. One who has renounced ignorance and ego is mentally prepared to lose anything in life. Sannyasa in a ritualistic form is called āśrama sannyasa, in which one physically renounces everything. However, whether one physically renounces or not, one should mentally develop detachment from everything so that he or she is ready for self-knowledge. There are two types of karma sannyasa, that is renunciation of action. One type is formal sannyasa, which is ritualistic, also called as vidivit or āśrama sannyasa. Here the person is changing the āśrama. Entry is also ritualistic and quitting is also ritualistic. One can go to sannyasa from brahmacharya one can go from grihastha or one can go from vanaprastha. Once into sannyasa, they have no right over anything and must take up kashaya, danda and other insignia. The second type is internal, non-ritualistic sannyasa, which is antarika, not bahya sannyasa. This internal sannyasa, one can never directly take to because it's a byproduct of self-knowledge. Internal sannyasa, you don't take to. Internal sannyasa happens. Even if you don't want, it happens. Jnanasya avantaram phalam antarika sannyasa. You have to work for jnana if you want internal sannyasa. Working for jnana is jnana yoga. Get jñānam, and as a result, antarika jnana sannyasa will happen, and the outcome of that is jnana karma sannyasa. Since jnana karma sannyasa is internal, we cannot bring āśrama here. Next slide, sir. Krishna talks about both karma sannyasa and karma yoga at the end of 4th chapter. Renunciation of action is karma sannyasa, while performance of action is karma anushtana. Arjuna wants to escape from the battlefield from one reason or the other, because he is listening with motivated intellect, often gets into confusion between karma and sannyasa. Next slide, sir. We know in these previous 3 chapters, that's namely chapter 2 to 5 of the Gita, Krishna has primarily discussed 2 topics. One is regarding sadhana, the other is regarding lifestyle. With regard to sadhana, spiritual discipline, Krishna has made it very clear that everyone has to go through karma yoga sadhana and jnana yoga sadhana to attain liberation. There is no choice with regard to these 2 sadhanas. Karma yoga is the means to come to jnana yoga, karma yoga is the sadhanam, and jnana yoga is the sadhyam. Karma yoga is not a means for liberation, while jnana yoga is the means for liberation. And we can never talk about a choice between means and end, can we? The question, should I follow karma yoga or jnana yoga, is therefore a meaningless question. Next slide, sir. Then there is a second part of teaching with regard to the lifestyle, because a person can lead 2 types of lifestyle, also referred to as nishtha. One is the life of activity in society, the other is a life of seclusion, withdrawal. Pravritti or nivritti, life of work or life of withdrawal. Krishna wants to point out that with regard to lifestyle, a person has got a choice. In both the ashramas, one has to follow karma as well as jnānam. And this karma yoga is called āśrama dharma. So grihastha āśrama dharma will be the karma yoga for grihastha. Sannyasa āśrama dharma will be the karma yoga for sannyasis. Take to any ashrama, but go through swadharma, and following swadharma is called karma yoga. And by following swadharma, you will smoothly come to jnana yoga once you are ready for it. In the 4th chapter, Krishna has talked about both grihastha-ashrama jnani, who is in grihastha-ashrama and has attained knowledge, and also about a sanyāsi who has attained jñānam. Since Krishna has talked about both the ashramas, Arjuna gets confused. And the 5th chapter thus begins with this confusion regarding the lifestyle, whether sannyasa is better or grihastha-ashrama is better. With this background, the teaching starts, and Krishna wants to clarify all about sannyasa, which is why the very chapter is called Sannyasa Yogaha or Karma Sannyasa Yogaha. Krishna makes a threadbare analysis of what is sannyasa. The first verse goes like this. Arjuna uvacha sannyasam karmanam Krishna punaryogam ja samsasi yat shreya etayor ekam tanme bruhi sunischitam. Arjuna asked the question, hey Krishna, you're glorifying both the ashramas. I cannot follow both because they're diagonally opposite. I cannot parallelly follow a life of activity and life of seclusion. If you stay in society, seclusion is not possible. And if you are in seclusion, you cannot be in society. I have to necessarily choose one of the 2. Therefore, between these two lifestyles, very careful, not between two sadhanas. In sadhanas, there is no choice. Everybody has to follow both karma yoga and jnana yoga. Here, the choice is with regard to the lifestyle. Between these two lifestyles, tell me which one is better. Do not give me an evasive answer. Sunishchitam tanme bruhi. That is Arjuna's question. Next slide, sir. Krishna, out of compassion, explains again. He says, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Sannyasa Karma Yogascha Nishreyas Sakaro Ubhau, Tayostu Karma Sannyasat Karma Yogo Vishishyate. Krishna says, both ashramas are equally good for following your sadhana. Both Karma Yoga Sadhana and Jnana Yoga Sadhana. Shastra talks about which one is better with regard to the nature or mental makeup of a person. Sannyasa ashrama by itself is neither wonderful nor terrible, but for an unprepared person, it is dangerous. And for a prepared person, it's wonderful. Krishna says, for majority life of activity, grihastha ashrama is safer and ideal, better than karma sannyasa, that is sannyasa ashrama. And that is why in the Vedas also, there are two statements. One is the general rule for the entire humanity, and there is a specific rule for exceptions. It's a normal practice to present the general rule first. The Upanishad also follows that and presents the general rule applicable to majority. The general rule is one goes to grihastha ashrama from brahmacharya ashrama. Every rule has an exception. From brahmacharya ashrama itself, one can take to sannyasa ashrama. And when a person wants to do that, Shastra tells it should be done with the help of Guru's advice. That is why sannyasa ashrama traditionally is given only when there is concurrence between both the Guru and the Shishya. Therefore, Krishna says between the two ashramas, better than sannyasa ashrama, grihastha ashrama excels. It's a better choice for majority of the people. Moving on to the next verse. Verse number 3. Jneya sa nitya sanyāsi yona dveshti na kankshati nirdvandho hi mahabaho sukham bandhat pramuchyate. How can a person follow spirituality in grihastha ashrama when there are a lot of problems all over? Will be a natural question that follows the previous verse. So here Krishna says grihastha ashrama by itself is not a problem if you know how to handle it. The primary problem in any ashrama, especially in grihastha ashrama, is raga dvesha. It is the likes and dislikes that we have with regard to things that we are involved with. We have got an expectation from everything. As a grihastha, I'm involved in so many things and I have got an ideal in my mind regarding them. And when things fall short with my ideal, it disturbs me tremendously. Krishna says, that intelligent householder who knows how to manage the raga dvesha, one who conquers that person is nitya sanyāsi. Such a grihastha will have as much peace of mind as a sanyāsi can have. Next slide, sir. Swamiji quotes Janaka's story, how Janaka was learning Vedanta from his guru along with other sannyasis, and these sannyasis looked down upon grihastha Janaka. And the Guru wanted to reveal the superiority of Janaka, and he created an illusion of a huge fire accident in which the palace and the thatched kutia of the sannyasis both were burning. They owned nothing except their extra kaupinam. But when the messenger came with the news that the whole city was on fire, these so-called sannyasis were so attached to the thatched shed and their meager dress that they ran to save those possessions. And it seems Janaka continued listening to the Vedanta teaching, and he was completely undisturbed by the fact that his palace was on fire. These sannyasis went and saw that the whole thing was an illusion the Guru created to teach a lesson. And when they came back, they found that still the class was continuing and King Janaka being the lone student. Kavi does not guarantee detachment. A person can have external dress and internal attachment. And Krishna says a grihastha is an inner sannyasi if he has mastered raga dvesha. We must note an important point here. Krishna does not say you should not have raga dvesha. because a human being cannot exist without raga dvesha. We certainly will have certain likes and dislikes. Krishna himself said in 3rd chapter, Indriyas arte ragadveshu vyavastito. You will certainly have certain preferences in life. That is inevitable. But do not be a slave of your likes and dislikes, says Krishna. If you're able to fulfill them, wonderful. And if you're not able to fulfill them, you should know how to face them. Mastery of likes and dislikes is converting them into non-binding desires. Have desires, but make it dharmic and non-binding. Non-binding desires means what? Have dreams, but be ready to face whatever happens. This is called management of ragadvesha, not destruction. Krishna says, hey Mahabaho, hey Arjuna, that person who has managed the pairs of opposites like raga dvesha, labha nashta, mana apamana, samyoga viyoga, such a person is called nirdvandva, a master of the pairs of opposites, and such person will definitely attain moksha effortlessly without going to sannyasa āśrama, remaining in grihastha āśrama, of course, by following the 2 sādhanās, first karma yoga and then jnana yoga. Moving on to the next slide. Sankhya yogo prutak balaha pravadanti na panditaha ekamapyastita samyak ubhayor vindate phalam. Krishna concludes, both ashramas are equally efficacious. Krishna does not talk about 4 ashramas here. He's taking only 2 ashramas into account. The 2 ashramas in Krishna's mind are grihastha āśrama and sanyasa āśrama, because brahmacharya āśrama is more a preparation for grihastha āśrama. It's a stepping stone, and therefore it's included in grihastha āśrama. Similarly, Vaana Prastasram is a stepping stone for Sannyasa āśrama, and it is taken as integrally included in Sannyasa āśrama. Krishna says both ways of life are equally efficacious. Nobody should compare and develop a superiority complex. Neither should a grihastha feel that he is superior to sanyāsi, nor should a sanyāsi feel that he is superior to a grihastha. And Krishna strongly warns, if a person says one of these 2 is superior to the other, that person is childish, immature. Do not listen to that prattle. Only the ignorant people prattle that sannyasa āśrama, sankhya, the life of seclusion, and grihastha āśrama, that's karma yoga, life of responsibility. These 2 ashramas are separate or unequal. Wise people, panditaha, will never say that. And Krishna says, take to any one of the lifestyles according to one's inclination. And one's prarabdha also plays a role here. But what is important is one has to stick to it sincerely. External changes do not matter. Inner transformation is important. Following any of the ashrama efficiently, a person will get the result which is common to both the ashramas. And what is that? That is jñānam. Next slide, sir. Yat sankhyaih prapyate sthanam tad yogairapi gamyate ekam sankhyam cha yogam cha ya pashyati na sa pashyati. Here Lord Krishna reinforces the same idea as in the previous shloka. The Lord emphasizes that sannyasis do attain moksha by following karma yoga and jnana yoga. Sannyasis have also got their āśrama karmas, the purificatory sādhanās, which is indicated by the danda. They have got tarpanam, japa, parayana, guru shushrusha, etc. These contribute to chitta shuddhi, and they have to study the shastra also. Sannyasis therefore attain moksha by purifying and knowing. Krishna says the same destination can be reached by the grihastha āśrama people also. And can you say that sannyasis moksha is a little bit better than grihasthas? Moksha is always one. Moksha means infinite. There are no 2 infinites. There is no difference in the moksha. Therefore, both sannyasa āśrama and grihastha āśrama are ekam. Ekam means they're equally efficient. The one who sees this fact, that person alone truly sees, and other people have got wrong perception. Next slide, sir. Coming to the last verse of the day. Sanyasastu mahabaho dukkam aptum ayogataha yoga yukto munir brahma na chirena adhigacchati. Here Krishna adds a new information. Until now, he said both ashramas are equally efficacious. Krishna says, even though both ashramas are equally efficacious, for a mature and prepared mind, sannyasa ashrama is fine. It's wonderful. Whereas for an unprepared mind, sannyasa ashrama is difficult. Not because the ashrama has some problems, but because of one's own mental immaturity. Krishna says, to enjoy sannyasa ashrama, one requires a level of mind which is not that easy. Generally, if a person who is unhappy in grihastha ashrama and jumps to sannyasa ashrama, it is like jumping from frying pan to fire. If everything is fine and one quits, that's maturity. If one quits when there's problem, that's a bigger problem. Munihi here is one who enjoys contemplation. Such a person who has got a contemplative mind by the practice of yoga, either in this life or in the previous life, the one who has prepared the mind through the appropriate sādhanās, such a sanyāsi will attain Brahman, will attain moksha before long. And therefore, Krishna's advice is, for majority of the people, grihastha ashrama is ideal and sannyasa ashrama is ideal for a few. A person may think that he is fit for sannyasa, but invariably, sannyasa is taken with the advice and recommendation of a guru. Who knows? With this understanding of ashramas and lifestyles, I conclude my presentation with reverential pranams to our gurus. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vasumati. That was a real great and a wonderful effort to give us a very clear idea about the āśrama dharma, which affects all our lives, and also the explanation of the first 6 verses of the 5th chapter titled Karma Sannyasa Yoga. As the primary theme or the most difficult theme is Sannyasa, for a few minutes, let us look into the significance or the greatness of Sannyasa. And even though we are all grihasthas, let us see how we can imbibe Sannyasa or the thought of Sannyasa in our life. Because unless we are mental sannyasis, Brahma Vidya will always be extremely distant. Unless we are mental sannyasis, there will be a disparity between our understanding and our lifestyle. In the Vedic culture, sannyasa is kept as an ideal for all, the ultimate goal for every individual. That means we have to go through all ashramas, brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyasa. Very few people, because of their past sādhanās, maybe they could skip grihastha. But as you said, unless you have a prepared mind, this skip can be difficult. Our society has the highest respect for sannyasa. What does sannyasa mean? Sannyasa means giving up everything. What is this giving up everything? And how is it possible to give up everything? Is it possible for us to give up our possessions? We will see how much we are attached to our possessions. If there is something that we have used and we find that it is no more useful for us, maybe we could give it away. But otherwise, we will find it extremely difficult, irrespective of our level of Brahma Vidya, to give away our possessions. What about our obligations? We always feel so obliged as a parent, in our own professions, and we will think, how can I be irresponsible and not fulfill my obligations? What about our relations? Life becomes so meaningful because of our friends and our family. Imagine giving up our own friends and our family. It becomes impossible to imagine. And as grihasthas, unless we have various amounts of transactions, particularly our professional transactions, it becomes very difficult to survive as grihastha. And you will see port now therefore becomes only theoretical. Unless we work on this aspect of port, Brahma Vidya will be like water mixed with oil. It will not be integrated. So let us see how or where is that we can bring in sannyasa in our life. You would have heard of this very famous verse from Robert Frost. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. At one time, this was something that fascinated me. But once you come into Brahma Vidya, then you will realize other things will fascinate you. I would really like to have that state of understanding, and I can say there is nothing to do, there is nowhere to go, because I am already that which I can possibly be. Once that vision comes, I am already that. Atman evatmana tushta. Our whole work is to be able to understand that Purnatvam. Once Purnatvam happens, possessions, obligations, relations, transactions, all these which are brought out by the ego will drop out automatically. Many times you will see yourself working into long hours when the rest of the world are asleep. Swamiji says there are 3 people who are awake at odd hours. One is the bogi. The bogi he wants to enjoy life. Maybe he's got a wonderful body. He's got a lot of resources. For him, day and night merge together. The Las Vegas kind of person whom the night and day, or the night is greater. He's awake at most of the night because he has to enjoy his life. The second category of people who are awake at all odd hours are the rogis. Any hospital, if you see, especially the ICU and the emergency, you will see, because the rogis are there, the rogis and those who have to take care of the rogis, whether it's 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, you will see that part is always awake. And the third category of a person is one who is committed. This is what I want to achieve. And a person who will work even into the long hours, because unless you use that pole vault to come to a stage when you can let go. So with that background, the yogi is a vividisha sannyasi. A vividisha sannyasi is now when you want to attain something. Now you have to give up the comfort of your bed. You have to give up the comfort of your family. You have to give up the comfort of your possessions. You have to give up the joy of being a certain amount of professional. Essentially, you have to work on being duty-free. Duty-free, we always talk of international airports, but unless we work on giving up our regular duties so that I can spend more time on spiritual sādhanās, because one day when there is a spiritual awakening, I become a vidvat sannyasa, port will automatically happen. So a vividisha sannyasi is one who takes that strong decisions. He is an āśrama sannyasi who gives up everything for the sake, but this requires a tremendously prepared mind. The other thing that we need to look as all of us are grihasthas, and we have been spending so many months and years in Brahma Vidya, is how can I be a vidvat sannyasi? How can Brahma jñānam awaken within me? This is purely internal. This is to understand that my true nature is I am someone other than the body. Naham deham. If I'm not the body, then I inquire with Guru and Shastra, and then you discover that I am that. Even a spota, even a small vision of my higher self makes you feel that this is something true. And then you will realize I have nothing to do. There is no personal agenda. Whenever there is any personal agenda, whenever there is anger, whenever there is upset, there is the function of the ego. Whenever you feel I have something to accomplish, the woods are lovely, dark and deep. These are all products of the ego. But then what do? Even once Brahma Vidya comes in, then you realize as long as I have this body, I have to take care of this body. As long as I have a certain amount of commitment, I have to take care of those commitments. But how do I do that? I do that like an actor on the stage. but at all the time remembering these attachments are only temporary. And I have a very Uruva Rukamiva Vandanat. And then one day, these verses of the Bhaja Govindam will become so meaningful. Sura Mandira Taru Mula Nivasaha. Look at that sannyasi who is living under a tree near a temple, who is lying on the ground, who has given Sarva Parigraha Bhogatyaga. He has given up all forms of enjoyment, and yet Kasya Sukham Nakaroti Viraga. When you discover the beauty in Vairagya. With that, we conclude today's class, and we will look into more in subsequent dishas to be able to understand what is this karma sannyasa yoga. I will request Dr. Divakar to conduct this teaching quiz, which has been collectively worked by Dr. Divakar and Dr. Komal. Dr. Divakar, please.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Now we will quickly run through the questions which are formed based on today's talk. And this will be a bit of a revision. Now the first question, this is from the verse 5.2. The Lord says, both Sannyasa and Karma Yoga are conducive to liberation. However, among these two, which one? Dash is better than dash. And we have a volunteer from our group who will try to answer this.
Hari Om. I think Karma Yoga is better than Sannyasa Yoga.
That's absolutely right, Vindhya. So here, Pravritti Marga is preferred by Lord Krishna, as he is addressing to Arjuna and all of us who are all predominantly grihasthas. So Pravritti Marga is, in other words, it is Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga, we should know Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga are mandatory preparatory sadhanas to enter into Jnana Yoga. And of course, Jnana Yoga is not complete without Karma and Upasana Yoga. We will move on to the next question from the verse 5.3. O Arjuna, he who does not desire and does not hate is to be known as a permanent sannyasi. Because one who is nirdvandva is completely freed from the bondage effortlessly. Here the word is nirdvandva. So what is the meaning of nirdvandva and who is referred to here as nirdvandva?
Dvandva refers to duality, so it is someone who is beyond the pairs of opposites.
Absolutely right again. So one who is beyond the pairs of opposite. Kasta, Sukha, Shita, Ushna. So all the pairs of opposites all belong to the material world. One who is steadfasted and one who has the mind mastery, the Shama and Dhamma, will be beyond this Dvandvas. Well done. Next question. What is the correct statement according to the scriptures? So there is a bit of a clue given already. Sādhanās refer to Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga and Jnana Yoga. Lifestyles refer to Brahmacharya āśrama, grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyasa. So we have both Pravritti Marga in the form of Brahmacharya and grihastha and Nivritti Marga in Vanaprastha and Sannyasa. Now based on this, you look at the following statements and you have to tell which one is the correct statement. Option A, we have a choice with regards to sadhanas, but not in the lifestyle. Option B, we have a choice with regards to the lifestyle, but not in the sadhanas. Option C, we have choice in both of them. And option D, we don't have any choice. We have no choice in both of them.
Option C, we have a choice in both.
Are you sure? Let's look at the answer. Answer is option B. As told in the as told previously, we have choice with regards to the lifestyle, but the sadhanas are mandatory. Sadhanas are Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga and Jnana Yoga. Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga, we cannot bypass to go to Jnana Yoga. Because if you go directly to Jnana Yoga, transformation will not happen. There is only information. So, but as far as the lifestyle is concerned, we can either choose Pravritti Marga or Nivritti Marga. Let's move on to the next question. In the verse 5.4, ignorant people assert that Sannyasa and Karma Yoga are different, not the wise. By resorting to dash properly, one attains the results of both. The options are Sankhya or the Sannyasa āśrama, which is Nivritti Marga, that is the life of seclusion. And then you have Yoga, grihastha āśrama, which is the Pravritti Marga, the life of responsibility, that is the life in the society. And the option C is any of them.
Option C, any of them.
That's right. So we just learned that from the previous explanation that there is a choice when it comes to the lifestyle. Let's move on to the next one. Now these questions are on the āśrama vyavastha. What is āśrama vyavastha? So we have options there. A Vedic system where the abode or ashramas of gurus are created to impart Brahma Vidya. Option B, Vedic sociological macro societal structure for the upliftment of society as a whole. Option C, Vedic system of micro sociological structure to assist the individual for an overall growth at different stages of life. Or is it Vedic system designed to help the individual to attain Brahma jñānam and moksha at every stage of the life? And the last option is all of the above except A. Hazard a guess. I think it's a little tricky question.
Yeah, it seems tricky. And I feel like it's option D.
Option D, is it?
D. Yeah.
Okay, the answer is actually option C. Right? Option C is Vedic system of micro-sociological structure. So we have read in the Tattva Bodha, there is Varnashrama Vyavastha. Varna Vyavastha is looked at from the societal point of view. It's a macro-societal structure. And from an individual point of view, it is called as āśrama vyavastha. Of course, both of them are so closely related to each other. Now, the next question, what is the meaning of the word āśrama in āśrama vyavastha?
Āśrama means sadhana.
Yes. Okay. The answer will have a little elaboration on that. Well done. Shrama means well-directed or willful effort, meaning that is the sadhana. Āśrama refers to a stage of life in which a person practices a particular spiritual sadhana. Okay. We'll move on to the next one. What are the 4 sequential ashramas which are also called as Chatvaraha Ashrama?
This is, so there are 4, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and I'm missing the 4th one.
Sannyasa. Okay, absolutely right. Brahmacharya is a student life, Grihastha is the householder's life, Vanaprastha is the hermit stage, and Sannyasa is a stage of renunciation. Now the next question, which one of these 4 ashramas is considered as the pillar of the society, that which supports other 3 ashramas? So which one of the 4 is the pillar?
I think
is it
it's
Brahmacharya?
Which of one? Grihastha. Yeah, I was thinking of Grihastha.
Absolutely, Grihastha Ashrama. Because Grihasthas are kind of independent from a material viewpoint. So they support students, they support sannyasis, they also support people who are in the Vanaprastha Ashrama. We'll move on to the next one. In the word Brahmachari, what is the meaning of the word Brahma? In Brahmachari, what is the meaning of the word Brahma? The options are Lord Brahma, who is the spouse of Goddess Saraswati, who is the goddess of education. Is it option B, Brahman, the omniscient conscious principle, which is the ultimate goal for any sadhaka? Option C, is it the Vedas or the scriptures? Option D, is it the Guna Brahmana, who is an eligible student to learn the Vedas?
Option D.
Okay. Option D. If there was an option E, all of the above, most of the people would have probably put that in. Option D is not the right answer. It is also a trick question. Option C, which is the Vedas or the scriptures. Chari literally means one who dwells upon. So Brahmachari is the one who dwells upon the scriptural studies. So here the word Brahma means Vedas or the scriptures. Brahmacharya Ashrama is meant for education. What is the primary purpose of education according to the Shastras? So in other words, what is the primary purpose of Brahmacharya Ashrama?
It is for refinement.
Absolutely right. refinement of the individual is the primary purpose. Secondary purpose is learning for earning, that is to attain artha and kama purusharthas. Education should make an animal man to man, and only then there is a chance to progress to a god man. Well done. We'll move to the next question. Who are Prakrita Janaha and Samskrita Janaha?
I'm not sure, Doctor.
Okay, let's look at the answer. So Prakrita Janaha are the ones without the refinement who just continue with the crude birth form which we get from our parents, whereas the Samskrita Janaha are the ones who are refined through the education, through the Veda jñānam, and this is the second birth. Once you have this knowledge, that person is called as, that student is called as Dvija. This Dvija who anchors with this Brahma jñānam at all times is called as Vipra. So every brahmachari or a student should know that the final goal is moksha, and Samskrita or a refined birth is a prerequisite to proceed towards this goal. So we all should be aiming for moksha, and of course that is the ultimate goal. And for that we should be Samskrita Janaha, or in other words refined in our mind. Shastras, particularly Manusmriti, talks about two sets of parents. Who are they?
One are biological parents, and
Yeah.
second the gurus who teach us the Shastras.
Absolutely right. You will get 75% of the marks. Okay, well done. So according to this shloka, Maturagre ati jananam dvitiyam maunje bandhanat tatrasya mata gayatri pitatau acharya uchyate. The first set of parents are our biological parents. Second set are those who help in the refinement through the education, the ones who make us the Samskrita Jana. The Gayatri Devi or Saraswati, representing the scriptural study or Vedas, is the mother, and the Guru who imparts this knowledge to us represents the father. As a part of Brahmacharya, ritualistic religious practices are prescribed. What are the benefits of these ritualistic religious practices? There is a clue. This is 3 Ds.
Is it around desire, dispassion, and there's a third one, I think.
Let's
I'm
look
not
at the
sure.
answer. I think there are so many Ds that we use, right? I think what you're talking is the sadhana chatushtaya. So here it is discipline. Discipline, I mean, as students, when you're going through educational system, it gives us a lot of discipline. And think about, education in the Brahma Vidya. It gives us tremendous discipline, and that improves our sattva guna. Then it also gives dynamism. Dynamism means we are active, we are participating in these classes, we are on time, we are preparing. That removes our laziness or tamoguna. And of course, gradually we develop devotion, which leads in mind purification and makes us conducive for further sadhanas and study. What is Vaana Prastasram? The options are a stage of confusion where there is a conflict on whether to remain as a grihastha or go to Sannyasa āśrama. Option B, taking periodic leaves from grihastha āśrama and going to Vanam or Aranya for contemplation. Option C, secluding oneself in a dedicated place within one's own house and practicing maunam, dhyanam and nidhyasanam. And the option D, training period for gradual withdrawal of mind and focusing more towards inwards as a preparation towards sannyasa.
Option D.
Option D is the right answer. Option D is the right answer. So it is a preparation to go to Sannyasa āśrama. Now, this is true or false statements. So every statement, you can say whether it is true or false. And then, after we complete all four, we'll look at the answer. Sannyasa means giving up everything. True or false?
True.
It is the right answer. Renunciation of family, material, possessions, and home will help in getting rid of ego and ignorance. True or false?
I'm thinking of grihastha āśrama here, so false.
You're right. It is false. After actually getting rid of ego and ignorance, it will help us in renunciation of family, material, and possessions. The third statement, Sannyasa is a ritualistic form. Sannyasa in a ritualistic form is called āśrama Sannyasa. True or false?
True.
Okay, that's right. It is very much possible to go through Sannyasa stage mentally, even if it is not possible physically.
True.
You're right again. That is true. So we have true for the first statement, false for the second, true for the third, and true for the last one as well. Well done, Vindhya, and all of you who have participated in this quiz. Hari Om, Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Thank you, Dr. Hari Om.
After the elaborate discussion about the three gunas and the way it binds a human being to karma, the logical questions are, what is the means to liberation? Is it only by becoming free of all attributes, a gunatita? What is the indication by which I can know whether I am a gunatita? What is the way of life or conduct of a gunatita purusha? And finally, how can one become a gunatita or a gnani? To know more about these, join us on Friday, 5th August, 6:45 p.m. for the 109th session of verse-by-verse study of Bhagavad Gita to learn teachings from verses 18 to 22 of chapter 14, Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga. Friends, on behalf of Param Vedanta, I would like to express a hearty thanks first to all the participants for joining us for today's session. To Sukanya Madam for chanting and explaining the divine shloka. To Dr. Timmappa Hegde sir for the introduction and emphasizing the important aspects from today's topics. Dr. Vasumati for your excellent presentation, along with painstakingly prepared wonderful and illustrative slides. To Dr. Divakar and Dr. Komal Prasad for the educative teaching quiz, which you have also painstakingly put together. That brings us to an end of today's program. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Shri Krishna Namastu.